Hi there guys, it's Sam from Tantrum Kitesurf. Had a load of questions from you guys regarding short lines. So I'm going to dive into them now and try and answer as many as I can. Specifically, from the start of the video, we are going to be looking at which brand and size of kite should you be using, brand and size of lines you should be using, and then what do you use, what length lines correlate with which particular exercise, and how do you actually progress through the lengths of lines, and how does it actually work in practice? Because I've never covered these before. So we're going to cover these. Thank you very much for the guys who've written in with these questions. Always really helpful when you do this because it enables me to kind of give the right feedback. So if you do have any questions, please keep them coming, guys. sam@tantrumkitesurf.com, and I will do my best to answer them. So let's start off. First question, which brand and size of kite should you be using? Well, this is a good one. I mean, to be honest, I couldn't tell you exactly, right, this brand works. I know for a fact the kites that we used, Airrush DNA, work brilliantly. And now I think it's the Airrush Lithium. I believe this one that's the same. I think it's the Lithium is the same as the DNA. It's just kind of the jacked up version of it, the pimped up version of it, should I say. They work really, really well on all length lines. What you do find with some kites, this is certainly true in the past, whether it is these days or not, I'm not sure, as I haven't tried every single kite on 5 meter lines to be able to tell you this, but some kites, as you reduce the line length, really do not like it. They really don't want to fly well. Now, I know Airrush work well. I know F1, the Bandit, works really well because they're the two that I've worked with and that we work with here in Tarifa. Other kite, I'm not so sure. I would imagine that most free ride kites are going to work. Why? Because they're all so goddamn similar. You put a free ride kite of any brand next to another brand, it's very similar. They all tended to go towards the same profile, so to speak. So most free ride kites should work. And they're the type of kites you should be using anyway as a beginner. You don't want to be using a race kite or a freestyle kite or something like that. It's probably not going to work. And B, you don't want one of those kites as a beginner anyway. But that's another topic. Brand and size of the lines you should be using. Again, brand doesn't matter as long as you can actually do the operation, double the lines up. Doesn't matter which brand you want to use. Length, generally it breaks down as to whatever length your line is, because the way that you shorten lines is you double them and then you can double them again. So that will determine the length of lines that you use. So let's say you've got 24 meter lines, well, that will break down naturally to 24, 12 and 6 meters, which is perfect, which is absolutely perfect for what we want. You may again be able to adjust that with extensions. So you may have 24 meter lines with 5 meter extensions. And then you've got even more options. So how it breaks down really is going to be dependent on the bar that you've got. And it's not really important the line lengths it breaks into. It's going to be half what you've got, and then half of that again is how it's going to work. Once you get past 2 folds, i.e., you've gone from 20, let's say, down to 10 and then down to 5 again. If you try and do that again to get 2.5 meter lines, what you could do, but you've got a huge amount of looped lines at that point. And again, 2.5 meter lines, that's a little bit too little, I would say. I would say as short as you really need to be going is 5 meters. We do in the school have some as short as 3 meters. They don't get used that often. But 5 meters is a great kind of minimum length, really. So that's how the line lengths work. Again, it depends on the type of bar you're using. Now, next question I've had, and this is how it all breaks down. When do you use these different lengths? And this is a great question. It's something I've never really addressed, never really thought about, because to me it just seemed, intuitive. It's what we do every day on the beach. How I like to work it is basically when someone comes to us as a beginner, total beginner, or even if they've done a bit before, we will always start them on the shortest line length we possibly can, generally around about 5 meters. And we get them flying on the beach. Everything they do on the beach will be with 5 meter lines. They will not touch longer lines until they're in the water. I generally try and keep people on short lines as long as I possibly can. Why? Makes my life easier, makes their life a hell of a lot easier. Again, what we're doing with shorter lines, we are taking that potential power out of the kite, and it means you cannot get dragged off down the beach. So the longer you can stay on short lines, the better you are, the better off you are. The easier you're going to find the exercises, the quicker the kite relaunches, the more manageable it is, the less space you're taking up on the beach, and the less chance of accident there is. So I keep people on 5 meter lines. Literally, I will do the first entire beach day on 5 meter lines. I generally do any body dragging and the initial water start training when you're just literally kind of doing figure eights and doing the old bum drag down the water. I'll do that on 5 meter lines if I possibly can. It's only when people that are really sat in the water with their back to wind, flying the kite in perfect figure of eights, that I will start, and then I need more power because I literally cannot get up on these lines. They're too short. At that point, I will start to lengthen the lines. And at that point, generally, I move them pretty quickly from 5 meter lines up to 10, 15, 20. And move them through that, but I do not give them any more power than they need at that moment. If someone is right on the brink of water starting and it's obvious the only thing that you're missing is power, cool, we'll go to long lines because you need that power, you need that leverage that the long lines give to get you up. But until that point, I absolutely will not do it, and I will keep students of mine on short lines as long as possible because it means they're learning quicker. It's less time tangling lines. Untangling lines, should I say. It's less time spent relaunching the kite because the kite relaunches itself. It's more time for them actually practicing the exercise they're supposed to be doing. And flying a kite on short lines is exactly the same as flying a kite on long lines. Not exactly the same, but as near as damn it for our purposes, in that you are doing exactly the same motions. You are learning in the same way. It's not like suddenly when we lengthen the lines, the action that you've got to do changes. So you've got to start again. Not at all. You actually find it easier as the lines get longer because the kite responds that much slower. So that I try and keep people on short lines for as long as humanly possible. When they're begging me for power, I need more power, give me more power, you explicit, then I'll give them more power at that point. Simply because they need it at that point. But they can handle it by that point as well, and that's the key. I will not give, or you, if you're doing this, don't give yourself more power until you really need it. Why would you bother? Why make your life more difficult than it needs to be? Keep yourself on short lines, nice and compact, nice and safe, until you're really craving that power. And the only point when you're really craving that power is when you're actually trying to water start to ride. And there's a big difference. The first time you go out to water start, you're not water starting to ride. You're water starting to learn how to water start. And there's a very big difference. A lot of people say, oh, he's water starting, give him long lines. Yeah, maybe if he's water starting and he's actually ready to go and ride, but there's a whole process before that, from that getting in the water, getting the board on your feet, setting your back to wind, setting the kite, flying the kite in the correct motion to actually get yourself up and riding. Once you've got all that can be done, on short lines. You don't need long lines for that because the goal isn't to actually get up and ride. Once you get to that point where that's being done perfectly, then okay, now we can start to look at increasing the line length. And this is where I'll move through the gears, move through the line length quite rapidly. Okay, next one, 10 meter lines, right, cool, you can fly it on that and you're actually starting to come out of the water, great. Let's move to 15 meter lines, for example. Cool, okay, right, now you've got that. And you can probably ride on 15 meter lines, most people. They're up, they're riding, cool, right, now we can add the power so that you can actually start riding properly and going upwind. So there's no real divide for me between what exercises, do you do this? Some people say, do I do them on short line? Do I do like flying the kite first on the beach on short lines, then move to long lines, then go back in the water and do body dragging on short lines? No, stay on short lines as long as humanly possible would be my advice. Again, you can bugger that and do what you want, but this would be from years and years of teaching. That was what I've seen people progress the most with, because they get more time actually flying the kite and less time fannying around with it, relaunching it, trying to avoid other people. Untangling lines is the big one. You can spend hours untangling 25 meter lines. 5 meter lines do not tangle. It's that simple. They just don't. They can't. It's just not possible for them to tangle. I've never ever seen it, I don't think. It doesn't always happen, very, very rarely. So you spend less time fannying around, much more time flying the kite, doing the exercise you're supposed to do. So I really hope that helps you guys. More information, go and hit up our website. The link should be appearing either somewhere around this video if you're watching on YouTube, or in the show notes below if you listen to this on the podcast. Go and check out our website. It's got loads more stuff like this. And if you want to do a course with us, guys, hit me up. We are now open for kite surfing lessons this year. Again, that's on the website I've just directed you to. Go and check it out there, and hopefully I will see you on the beach sometime. Any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you found that useful, please hit like, and why not subscribe? Go on, subscribe and hit the bell. And then you'll get even more of my amazing wisdom just direct to your inbox. Okay, guys, I'll speak to you soon. Have a good one.